Hello, hello, my green skins. And tonight we have Val
Hello?
and Dark Prince Alibaba. And tonight we are doing a interesting little video idea for those fans of the King of Pop. What if Michael Jackson never had a solo career? What if he had stayed in the Jackson 5 up to when they finally just kind of went pop? I guess the best way would to say, what if Sony never gave him that deal? Because I think that's what actually got him out of the Jackson 5.
Hmm.
So we'll start with Val here tonight. What do you think? What would have happened if he had never left the Jackson 5?
Well, first, every Michael Jackson album in existence would never have been made. I mean, some of the songs might have been made, but it would have had to have been toned for the Jackson 5.
Mm.
Uh, what's the song he did for Live Aid or We Are the World?
Yeah,
That would have been done by the Jackson 5.
if at all.
If,
If at
if at
all.
all, yes. Um, because Michael Jackson, he started up his career, his solo career, and he was a young man at the time. The Jackson Five were kind of popular, but they were nowhere near as popular as they were back in the mid 70s.
Well, yeah, that was the whole that era of music and stuff. They were
Yeah,
really
the appeal was that they were a boy band, and they were when they became men. That appeal, well, their core audience uh, moved on, and they were singing songs. They were still singing pop boy band songs. I think they needed to mature up a bit.
Yeah,
mm,
and I could definitely see them as like a parallel to the Temptations. Where the Temptations, they were pretty popular when they were young men, but as the years went by, people just lost interest in them. Outside of their core favorite songs, of course. I think that would have happened to the Jackson 5. They probably would have maybe trudged along to the mid 80s at the best. At worst, they would have became irrelevant by 82. And at that point, all of them probably would have lost interest in showbiz. Janet Jackson, for instance, I don't even think she would be able to pick up her own career, which started in the 80s.
yeah, she
Yeah,
really did kind of ride the coattails, didn't she?
would
Yeah,
I don't think there is some truth to that. I don't think even she would have had much of a career because let's be honest, when she started, she was famous mainly because she was the sister of Michael Jackson.
yeah, and Tito Jackson, he would not have had. I don't even think he would have had like a music producing career without Michael Jackson.
Jermaine Jackson attempted to have a solo career when, if you know the story, that he married Gordy Berry's daughter, who owned Motown at the time, and when the Jacksons family opted to move to CBS, he had to stay behind out of loyalty to his father-in-law, and well, let's just say the Jacksons kept going, but he alone didn't really make it far, if anywhere, as a solo artist.
Mm.
Yeah, I, I
Well,
can only imagine that whatever money that they had accrued at the time probably would have been taken by their father and spent.
yeah, we won't go
Because,
too much into his father because, yeah, that was a fucked up thing, and we won't yeah, he did take his money, but we won't. We'll try to stay away from the father scenario because yikes,
oh yeah, no, I believe you, man.
some of the tell all books, man, after the fact, and some of the stuff that happened. My personal belief, and this is going to sound awful, he was so depressed when he was with his family at the time. Like, I don't know if we would have had a Michael Jackson period. I think that might have been his checkout time if they had actually if he had permanently stayed with his family. Because there were points where he was just so done. Like he talks about, there's a couple interviews he's done where he's actually brought up the fact that I was so depressed, I was so upset and sad with life, and he was just so messed up afterwards. Like his family really fucked him up. Like that's the only way to. There's no nice way of putting it. It was brutal. I would also say if we actually gone down this road, let's go down this road. I think rap and pop music as we know it today would not be the same.
Oh,
Like
definitely.
he's partially the Nightmare Before the dawn of time there, the Land Before Time share and Sonny Ono kind of helped inspire pop music, brought pop music into a fashion. But Michael Jackson was doing that. Now at the time there was the British invasion. The British were creating a lot of pop music.
Yeah, but most of it was like a mix of rock and roll and
Yeah,
blues.
they
Yeah,
really
it really
dominated
was.
the rock genre.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, you had
they
like
did for a very long time.
yeah, metal literally owes its existence to the British, like forming it.
The British
It may have been
invasion,
created by
yeah.
the Ramones, but it would definitely take shape because of Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, um,
Yeah.
uh, sorry, Judas Priest,
Yeah.
just to name a few of the bigger
Just to,
names.
just yeah, just to bring out a few of the beasts that were part of the Black Sabbath, so to speak. And it inspired people. Like I think Alice Cooper was doing stuff at the time, but it's different with Michael Jackson, where we can actually say no, metal would have eventually, if the British invasion really didn't happen, metal would have still like because you had other people that were slowly building a repertoire, but I don't think I don't think pop music wouldn't exist without Michael Jackson. Like I hate to say it, um, I don't think Britney Spears and some of the boy band craze because Michael Jackson helped create that craze. Him and the BBC, the British invasions like the Beatles and the fucking Johnny and the fucking whatever the fuck they're called. I can't remember. They can't remember exactly all the names because there were that many. But no, yeah, no, it really did change our society when it came to that. Like they really did manipulate a lot, and I really think he actually helped a lot of the communities in a way because he also saved a lot of Elvis's stuff. Like who knows if that stuff would still exist? Where all of Elvis's and the Beatles shit was, like some of the stuff where they had their stuff. They a little known fact that if I remember correctly, that factory or that store area that had all that music before when Michael Jackson had bought it, if he hadn't bought it, a lot of that stuff would have gone up in fucking smoke. If I remember correctly.
Oh yeah, no, no. In fact, something I found out, Elvis Presley, he has had over 50 plus records released post mortem.
Yep.
We can
And
only assume that half of that, at the very least, is due to Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson's collection. Yep.
There's
And
also another.
unfortunately, okay, go ahead.
There's also the fact that he put MTV on the map.
He did. Oh
Yep,
yeah,
with
like we
Thriller
haven't
and
even
Beat It. Yep.
yeah we hadn't even gone into that. Like that's another big beast that we haven't even touched. Like Michael Jackson was, love him or hate him, he was the inspiration for a lot of stuff. The music videos. I honestly think music videos would have never gone the way they did.
It
And you
probably would
can
have stayed the way as like Yellow Submarine, Long Hard Day's Night, or The Wall, right?
well, wasn't all those after the fact?
No, no, those were all
After Thriller?
movies. Those were all movies based off the music of the respective bands. Like the Beatles, they had Yellow
I
Submarine and Hard.
know, I know, but what I mean is like a lot of those music videos, a lot of the actual legit music videos, I don't think would have existed. Period. That's what I'm saying.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if you wanted a air quote music video prior to Michael Jackson, you would have had to have seen it in a movie.
Or it would have been like, like a Letterman thing, the Ramones or the thing. Like I
Yeah,
think the music industry but he inspired it. He created
Yeah.
something that we've never seen before.
They were
Like
basically just snippets of live performances. That was a music
they
video at
really
the
were.
time.
They really were.
But he
yeah,
invented
and
the fact that now they had narratives. They were short films. Like
yeah,
what
a
came
lot of
first?
directors started out there.
Yeah, what came first? Thriller or Billie Jean music video?
Uh, Billy, I think it was Billie Jean.
If
Thriller
that's
came
the
shortly
case,
after.
yeah, Billie Jean was like a step in the direction of having a narrative because there was an actor, there was him walking around being stalked by a paparazzo, but Thriller was more cinematic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think the director for Werewolf by London actually helped him out with some of these special effects.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
it
Didn't
was
know about
directed.
that.
It was directed by the guy who made yeah, like you said, Were Werewolf in London.
Werewolf of
Yeah,
London. Yep.
what was his name?
Yeah,
John Landis, known for
Yep.
horror movies, actual horror movies,
horror
werewolf
movies.
movies.
Yep. Of the 1970s and 80s. Yep. Yep.
Well, we got to review those eventually. The werewolf. Werewolf movies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good movie. I've seen it
They're
before. It's
good.
pretty good.
Yeah, they're all good. They're all pretty good.
Mhm. Um, Another thing we think we should also mention is that Freddie Mercury was inspired by Michael Jackson.
Jackson. Yep.
Yeah. And sadly enough, Michael Jackson was inspired by Queen. Interesting enough, I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Queen released an album right before Michael Jackson. I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't Thriller. It wasn't. Was it Bad? I'm
In
trying to remember
order,
here.
it was Off the Wall, Thriller, Bad, Dangerous, and the '90s. That's more stuff.
Okay, I think it was either Bad or Dangerous because Queen came up with an album. It didn't do as well as they had hoped it would. It wasn't the one with the shown tunes. It was the one just before Live Aid, I believe.
Was that Bicycle? Bicycle. Bicycle. Oh God, I hate that song. But anyway, go ahead.
I think
Hello.
that was part of the show tunes one. I'm thinking more of like they tried coming
I
out with like a
can't.
blues album that didn't do all that well. But I do know that Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson nearly had a collaboration. It was only ended because Freddie decided to start doing drugs in front of Michael, and Michael just said, "Nope, nope, that's it. We're not doing this."
Well, yeah, because Michael was done at that point. He was so sick and tired of he had to deal with it with his own family. So a part of him just kind of, from what I've heard, he was really done with the drugs.
Oh yeah, which is actually kind of shocking given the fact that he died of like a cold medicine, right? Or
We won't painkillers actually, but we won't really
yeah,
get into
painkillers.
that.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's keep the inspiration of his life in the in the front row.
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
No
but
problem.
the thing is that when he went solo, not only did he introduce his own musical style, but after that, the Jacksons had to adapt to his style. Like he was practically every album that was the Jacksons album before the end was practically Michael Jackson songs, and they were just his probably free background vocalists.
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
well, that's the problem. It ended up, from what I've heard, the Jackson 5 really had a bad end when he finally bolted. And there was even threats of stuff. And I've heard a lot of controversy. I don't know what's true and what isn't. I'd love to have actually talked to someone about it. But I heard it was rough. When it was all said and done, it was really rough, apparently.
Yeah. The only funny enough, the only family members that Michael was actually close with were his nieces and nephews and his children.
Yeah.
Like everyone else, they
And
were
Janet.
just out for money.
I heard he was okay with Janet and his mother and his younger brother.
Tito.
No,
Yeah.
Randy.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with all the names of the Jacksons. I'm sorry.
Tito's cool. Remember that gag? Which one is
Yeah.
Tito?
He's
No,
cool.
Michael Jackson. I think. Oh, I lost my train of thought.
Well,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we could probably
Um,
circle back around it.
Yeah.
yeah, Michael really did inspire stuff. Again, I was never a fan of the Jackson 5 when they started stuff. I'm really not a fan of Michael Jackson until Thriller. And even then, I wouldn't consider myself a super fan. I'm a metal fucking head all the way.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's like,
I remember what I was gonna say. So going back to what you were saying about how depressed he was, and to build on that, remember for a time he was the youngest boy of the family, and with a big family like that, I'm the youngest in my family, and there's always a lot of sheltering and a lot of protection, and also some pressure. And him being the star of the family, he was under the most pressure. Like everyone's like, if you, I've been in situations where if you didn't know something, and sometimes your brother would be like, "Oh, you don't know this? What's wrong with you?" They can sometimes make you feel like you're a failure.
Right. Yeah, I was the older sibling, so I don't really know that, and I kind of always felt like I wish I had an older sibling to help me show the ropes, because there's only so much your parents can tell you before you're like going, okay, this is kind of uncomfortable to ask that.
we didn't know anything about it. Single child, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and on top of
yeah,
that, remember what he saw when he was growing up. I mean, his dad was taking him to perform at strip clubs before, like him and his brothers were performing some of the strip clubs before the main event came out.
yeah. That they would have seen some pretty messed up stuff, especially in the '70s. That stuff was. I mean, you think a strip club or a gentleman's bar is bad now in America? You have not seen what it was like in the '70s. Hell, I think
Yeah, there was a lot of drugs, a lot of substances. It was Michael was not a fan of any of this stuff, and like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that he was in constant some of the other stuff that was going on in his life, I don't think he'd ever he hated it personally. Like, and again, there are some really bad horror stories he's talked about, and his feelings towards women and all that, like sex and stuff at the time, like it fucked him up. It fucked him up. Like,
well, yeah, but I mean, funny enough, most people don't mention this outside of a few ardent Michael Jackson defenders and even his close bodyguards and his family. Uh, he was sleeping with women left and right whenever he wasn't in a long-term committed relationship.
yeah, but that again, that's part of the fuck up. When you got like that life in your
Yeah,
head.
but the difference there is that remember he was growing up and his dad was getting groupies to sleep with his brothers while he was in the same room. I
Yeah,
imagine
and
Michael Jackson was not sleeping with groupies because he doesn't like groupies. He
well, I mean,
hates
we
them.
can only hope that he wasn't, especially
We're
at
not
that
going.
young an
We won't.
age.
We won't get into the controversy. We'll just look at it as is. Well, but this led up to Michael Jackson's true fucking depression. Michael was depressed as fuck. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, he was. He
Yeah,
had a
he probably would have
family.
ended his life. Yeah, sorry.
Well, he even talked about it. Like he's brought it up. He had it. It was just like it really did fuck him up, and he hated what was going on in his life, and he hated who people were around him, and this all just kind of burned him in a lot of ways. I feel bad for the poor guy for that because a child star, like we made jokes about our Warlock. I made jokes about people in their 40s having these roles as teenagers and stuff, but there's some real reason why that actually should be because a grown adult can handle some of this. A teenager can't.
No, I mean, looking at a lot of child actors, you only get a very rare few that can become functioning members of society. I mean, Kurt Russell, for crying out loud, he was a child star all the way back in the Disney era, of like the 70s, I think. And he's a pretty functioning guy.
Yeah,
He doesn't get political. He's just a normal guy who says, "Yeah, I'm an actor and I enjoy acting." That's
yeah.
about it.
So if you look at how his life was and how depressed he apparently was, it's sad to say I don't think he'd be I don't think he would have. I think he would have, check out stage left eventually, which is a sad thing to say. I honestly think though it affected music and it affected black music. I don't think Motown would have existed as it did. Like all the stuff that was created after Michael Jackson, because I think he inspired a lot of people and gave people an in that they've never had before. And he was the guy that did that. And when it's all said and done, it was Michael Jackson who opened the door for a lot of people that would have had that door slammed shut in their fucking face.
Yeah, I agree. And what's worse is bringing up another musical artist that shares a lot of similarity with Michael Jackson. It's Mozart. Michael
Oh,
Yeah, he
Jackson
was.
was
I thought
Michael
you were going to
Say
say
Jackson was
that.
the most.
Prince.
Well,
No, well, Prince. Prince is basic. I don't want to diss Prince because Prince did his own thing, but he basically was he was basically a Michael Jackson light. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I agree with that.
yeah, he's a
That's
good singer.
horrible
He
for
was a
me to
good
say.
singer and all, but he was nowhere. He's not on the level of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I'm never a fan of the Prince. The man known as Prince was, although an amazing artist on every level, I think his inspirations were David Bowie, and I felt that he was a copy of both David Bowie and Michael Jackson personally.
Yeah,
That's horrible I know some people won't like that, but that's just the way I feel about him.
I can't really give you my 2 cents on it because I only know like maybe 2 songs by Prince. Um,
I know a lot. The guy actually did had a pretty decent, a pretty bitching music stuff. I know quite a few songs here and there. Again, I'm
Yeah,
not a
but
pop guy. Go ahead.
but Prince did not last very long. I mean, his he's a time capsule. His era is in the 80s. He didn't make he was practically non-existent in the 90s as
No,
far as I remember.
he was a writer. He was a major writer at the time, and he became a major like he was a figurehead for a lot of stuff at the time. He really didn't have the same beast that he was after that, though. I will agree there. He just kind of became something of an anomaly would be the best way to put it. Like it's an interesting individual. I kind of have a love hate relationship with Prince as a whole. Like I think I hate even bringing him up because he really to me he's kind of fake Michael Jackson. That's kind of horrible to say, but that's kind of how I've always felt about him.
yeah. Um,
But yeah,
yeah.
I honestly think, yeah, Michael Jackson, right man for the right fucking time, to be honest. And I think without him, the
Like,
music scene would be a different beast.
yeah,
We might have the music scene of we might have that London scene. Like I think a lot of music would be shot in London. I
you,
honestly think as a Canadian, I even think it would have affected Canadian music.
you said this earlier that he was so big and so inspirational that even hip hop artists were diehard Michael Jackson fans and inspired by him, and
Yeah,
it's a completely different genre of music. One Michael
it
Jackson
really
doesn't
is.
Metalheads are
touch.
actually metalheads were fans of Michael
Oh, it's
Jackson.
Michael Jackson as well. Yeah, I was about to say that. 1, 2, 3, Jinx, you owe me a soda.
No, I don't even care for pop music that much or R&B, but Michael Jackson just stands out. It's like he's not just
He did.
he's not just good by pop standards. He's just great by any standard.
Yeah, overall a great musician. From what I've heard, his concerts were fucking amazing. Probably the best concert you'll ever be a part of, from what I've heard over the years. And yeah, I think the man could have. I think the man was. I think he forever was the man for many years, and it's sad. We lost. Like I agree with what my friend said at the time when we lost him. We lost like the man of the year. We lost one of the greatest musicians of our century.
And that is true. I
Uh,
think the only time I could ever the only thing I can never compare it to is when we lost Freddie Mercury, and he died long before Michael Jackson. Like, I wasn't even born
I
when.
see Freddie Mercury. I'm not in agreement with you with the whole Freddie Mercury thing because I still think I think his music would have still flowed. Would be the best way to put it. Where I think losing Michael Jackson was, music would have flowed. Losing the King, it's kind of like losing the King in
I
some
mean,
ways if he had before he had started. I would say it would have the same effect. I
I mean,
honestly believe the King. Go ahead.
would you say when people lost Elvis, it was the same way? It was akin to that.
No, no, I would actually say losing Elvis before Elvis was Elvis would have the same effect. Like we can literally just tack that onto this video that yeah, losing Elvis would have been the same thing because Elvis was that influential of a musician, that influential of a without Elvis, like fuck, who are we kidding? Like Elvis we wouldn't have Michael Jackson if it wasn't for Elvis.
We would have had
We
Michael
wouldn't
Jackson
have
without a
rock and
lot of
roll as
people.
is if it wasn't for
Uh,
Elvis.
yeah, we lost a lot of people.
Yeah,
He was the figurehead. He was the beast that built the fucking house, man.
yeah.
I mean, when I think rock music, this might sound controversial, but I think of white bands. Michael Jackson is not a white man. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe
No, we
maybe I'm
know.
remembering it wrong, but do you think that the fact that was it unusual for a black man to enter the rock scene?
Well, I mean, you
Mm,
had Jimi Hendrix, and you also had
yeah. Oh yeah, he just answered my question. He just answered exactly what I was about to say. You had Jimi Hendrix and other
you
individuals
also had
that.
James Brown. James Brown was heavily in was a part of rock and roll.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of motherfuckers that just they set the stage. Let's be honest. A lot of people set the stage. Blues helped set the stage for people like Michael Jackson. And in the end, like I said, this is something a lot of people don't want to talk about. I think I think metal would have existed without blues, as much as people say, oh, metal would have this. But I think a lot of other music just wouldn't have existed without fucking rock and roll. You guys there? Yeah,
Yeah,
Yep.
it's known that
that's right.
Michael Jackson his mind doesn't work like everyone else. He doesn't differentiate music by genre. Apparently,
Hmm.
from what I understand, he just does anything. He likes everything of every kind.
I'm kind of the same camp on some levels. I really do like a little bit of everything. But yeah, he changed the world, and for love or hate him, he really did change the world. Like fuck, I can't really not say that he didn't change the world, eh? Like he was a responder to everything. And like he really did change music for the better. For better or worse, he really did change music. And I do believe that if it wasn't for someone like Michael Jackson, oh yeah, it's all over.
Remember
I
what
think
we
the
talked
music.
about?
What?
I remember a couple of years ago you said we wouldn't have anime without Michael Jackson.
Oh yeah, we wouldn't have. And yeah, we've even brought about this before. Anime had he helped bring anime to the forefront on a lot of levels. Like a lot of people well, I would say now that I know a little more, I would say it was him and another individual by the name of Stan Lee that brought anime into the forefront. But I think Michael Jackson helped. I think video games music was a drastically changed because of Michael Jackson. I don't know if you boys agree with that one, but yeah, video game music really did have a huge part of the world once Michael Jackson was in the fold.
That I do not have enough knowledge or information on. The only connection he's had with video games, as far as I know, are the Moonwalker game and Sonic 3.
Well,
I also
his
know that
music.
Michael
No,
Jackson nearly bought
his
Marvel, but that's on a different thing altogether.
yeah,
Especially
but
when
Michael, yeah, but Michael Jackson. When I say this, do you know how many people he inspired video game wise?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Like that number's pretty fucking deep. So he was a huge inspiration to the world. And I think his solo career was what did it. Like I feel bad to say this about the I guess the Jackson 5 gets to take a shit on the matter, but the truth is he changed the world. He really did change everything. And that's what we got that's the best way to put it, He is
Music would certainly not be the same now because
mhm.
you can still hear, as much as I don't like modern music, especially R&B and pop. You can still hear that there is some influence in his style seeping in to
Mhm.
everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I'm not a musician. I don't know anything about writing music, but
Yeah.
um, but I do notice,
Well, that,
like, look at Usher for example. He clearly is uh, inspired by Michael Jackson. You don't even have to. You can just
oh
see
yeah,
it.
it's
2 seconds later,
it's
it's so
Bruno
obvious.
Mars, he's inspired by it.
Omarion, basically all the big names of the late '90s to mid 2000s were.
Kanye West is hugely inspired by him. Like, fuck.
Yep. I mean,
I don't know.
heck, going back before Janet Jackson, she wouldn't have had an in. And what about Whitney Houston?
That
That's a debatable one. I don't know about that one because Whitney kind of had her own little thing going at that time. She had her own little fiefdom at that
Hmm.
time. Like in her and crazy fuck, buddy was doing all that crazy shit to her. They were kind of doing their own thing even before that. So it really, I don't know if I would call that.
Well, now that you mentioned
That's a
her,
hard sell.
Well,
now that you
I mean, they
mentioned
did
Whitney,
become.
it's like, yes, Michael Jackson was a major influencer, but no one is inspired by just one person. So maybe there'd still be some resemblance of music, what his music has become if Michael never went solo. But because again, like
I don't think
Whit,
so.
Whitney was around, Madonna, love her or hate her, she clearly inspired what came after her.
Cool.
True,
Yeah,
that wouldn't be surprising. And she was also given the title of the Queen of Pop, though you can debate on whether or not she deserves that title.
I don't know. I know people have a hard on for everything about. I'm not a fan of any. Like I said again, I am the metal thrasher guy. Like my idea for music is very limited to that genre because I'm an absolute fanboy of that genre. So it's a hard sell for me to even give that stuff an in. So this tells you something when I'm willing to talk about this because in my mind I'm like I'm willing to talk about this, and I'm not a fan of that genre. I'm not a fan of the genre at all.
Neither am I. I'm more into '80s rock and '70s rock. That's what I listen to more. But Michael Jackson just somehow he transcended my own personal tastes and biases, and just he skyrocketed to one of my favorites.
It really
Yeah.
did.
Yep. I can
And
agree with you on that. Um, I think maybe it's because he's one of those few artists that are a great unifier. Like you can love all different types of styles, but at the end of the day, there's going to be that one singer or artist out there that everyone can get behind and say that's a good artist.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he is a very good artist, and his music I mean, I don't want to say it's a genre of music, but Michael Jackson does sound unique among all his fellow pop stars. So it doesn't sound like pop music. It sounds like Michael Jackson music.
Music. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the best way to put it, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like we really do. We just a lot of us gushed about him, but the truth is, a lot of us, yeah, music would be so drastically changed. There's no other way to go around it, right? Like
The
we're
90s.
we're in agreement. Yeah, yeah. He changed music. Yeah, I would even go as far as saying he changed some fashion too.
Yeah.
He was a major head of a lot of stuff that he did, made its place in our world because of it. So, yeah, give the king of pop his dues, man. That's the best way to put it. Yeah, thank you very much, you guys. We appreciate everyone, those who watch these what if videos. We're gonna do more of them because people like them and we like doing them. They're fucking fun. I enjoy it. If it's fun, why not keep doing it, right? So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Please like, subscribe, and you all have yourselves a good day.
All right. Have a good one.